Oh hi, I didn't see you there. Today, I would like to show off all of the shelves I have bought and all of the things I have placed on them. I haven't really done a game room tour, a room tour of any sorts since 2019, and even then, that was a Scott the Woz episode that was heavily scripted and heavily edited and all of that. So I think I'm at the point where I have enough junk just laying around where I have enough stuff to talk about, and enough stuff has changed since that episode, and I've never really just gone throughout this whole thing and talked just off the cuff about just stuff that doesn't fucking matter. So generally, this room is always in slight disarray. I got it nice and cleaned up a little bit, not only for this video, but also just because I want to do that. But usually, like in certain Scott the Woz episodes, I feel like it's kind of funny how like in the background you just see a bunch of just garbage all around the place, or just like all this stuff that's obvious. Like, man, like they're doing something over there. Like, I don't know, just boxes or just hammers and screwdrivers on the ground, and that's just because when we're filming. By the end of it, I'm so exhausted that I just leave this room in disarray for like a week straight, even longer. But I got it nice and cleaned up, and I feel like I'm never gonna be fully satisfied with like the layout. I'm always gonna be potentially looking to change things, especially when you have like more stuff coming in, or eventually, you kind of want to downsize a little bit. But if I'm waiting for that perfect moment where everything is exactly how I want it, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this. And back in the day, and even these days, like some of my favorite things to do is watch like game room tours. I like seeing how people do this kind of stuff themselves, and just see how they organize things, or just like what cool stuff that they have. And it kind of helps me find like new equipment to use, or better tactics to show things, or just do any of this kind of stuff. So enough is enough. Let's get into the game room tour. This is a Skylanders Wii U. Right over here is where I put a lot of the console boxes and just video game boxes in general. Most of the stuff here is like empty shelves, just a bunch of the cardboard stuff. We have most of the console stuff here, and then kind of the big box, more special edition, newer stuff, controller stuff, and then that moves into the old school retro games here. Games that would come in cardboard, and then that finally goes into just the whole lineup of games. And I think the thing is, like, there's a general order that it's going in, but the problem is, like, you have to make do with what you have. So as an example, this is my shrine to the Wii U, but the problem is these are Billy bookcases from IKEA. The best shelves of all time, except for one fatal flaw. This shelf in the middle does not move whatsoever. It's locked in there. The other ones you can move, anywhere you want. I can, adjust this, bring it up, bring it down, all that. So I couldn't really make this all Wii U, so the only one that fit here was the Wii boxes. All right, so why do I have all these Wii U's? Because quite frankly, there is nothing different between any of these outside of the boxes themselves, and that's why I like the boxes. They look really nice. One of the things I really like about the Wii U console boxes is how pretty much any of the special ones have a unique U on them, which is that's cute. But yeah, I just have a lot of nostalgia for the Wii U. At this point, I don't have literally like anything else to say about it, because I've talked about it for so long that there is genuinely nothing else I can say about this console. But yeah, like it came out when I was like, I got a job for the first time. I was able to drive around wherever I wanted, so I could buy the games when they were coming out. I was paying attention to the news and all of that. So, I have a lot of nostalgia for this era of Nintendo, as dog shit as it was. But there's just certain things I like about the boxes, and sometimes the systems themselves, like the Zelda Wind Waker one has that unique design. The white Wii U, I like that because it doesn't get all these grubby little fingerprints all over it. And then the rest of these, like I kind of like just because, it kind of brings me back to that era when, I don't want to live through being a 16-year-old again, but, It's like, damn, back when taxes weren't taxes, and I could just sit on my ass all day watching YouTube videos about Nintendo games. Now I do that, and I still don't pay taxes, so I don't know what the problem is. But like I was saying, you know, we go lower down here, and as you can see, this is the most popular shelf in the room. Once again, it's just kind of putting stuff there that fits and maybe makes thematic sense. So another Wii, GameCube, and yeah, I own this one because I've always wanted the red Wiis. Red is my favorite color, and every single red Wii released throughout the different countries has like a different setup. So like the North American one, as we can see here, just comes with New Super Mario Bros. Wii. But then the Japanese one comes preloaded with a copy of Mario 1, where the question mark boxes are replaced with the number 25. That is definitely not worth the same as that, but it's still kind of cool. And then the European one comes with Donkey Kong Original Edition, which is Donkey Kong for the NES with the Pie Factory level from the arcade. I tell everybody that comes down here. And then I have more Wii U's kind of spill over there. A lot of the ones that have like longer boxes. So, you know, the Zombie U one, that comes with a Wii U Pro controller and Zombie U art book, and then the Mario Maker one comes with an amiibo there, the Wii Mini, you know, the red Wiis, like I said. And I have a couple displays from stores. The Pokemon Rumble U display, I fucking hate this game, but it's kind of fun because I own, I think, all the figures that released here. I found a lot on eBay that came with the display and all the figures in their little capsules here. That's just kind of neat. It's kind of a weird little precursor to Amiibo. So I think that's kind of fun, and you know, it goes with the Wii U stuff because, you know, it was from the Wii U era. And you know, speaking of which, I don't have a ton of these displays, but I do have another one, and it kind of goes with like the Wii U era. This is just like a little setup of like holiday gift guides, and I remember this one specifically. Like I went to Best Buy a lot back in 2014. I don't even remember the last time I stepped foot in that store, but you know, back in the day, it was really cool to go to Best Buy because they had, you know, the My Best Buy rewards and the Gamers Club Unlocked, where all video games were like 20% off, and that was a steal. Literally, I felt like I was stealing. But yeah, for the longest time, I never really displayed a lot of the boxes that I had. You know, I display a couple of them, but especially when I was at the old apartment, it was mostly just the games. And, you know, a lot of this stuff went in the closet, and, you know, like, over time, I've just kind of been like, I kind of forget I own a lot of this stuff. I don't know why I'm storing them in closets and stuff. I guess I just didn't really want to feel, like, super cluttered. But just recently, I kind of decided, like, nah, we gotta, you know, like, just fill this stuff. You know, fill the walls with this stuff. You know, it's kind of cool. You know, you already look like a fucking dweeb for having all these video games. Why not have like some of the boxes that you have and like just show like all the different stuff that I kind of like. So at the tops of these shelves, we have a lot of the console boxes, and I kind of am going like chronological with this, much like how the lower ends of the shelves are going, where, you know, we start with NES here, and then it kind of goes, you know, more and more modern throughout the shelves. And I'm kind of doing that with the boxes on top, and it's really hard because I'm kind of out of space, and there's certain boxes that I wish I could put up here, and because the ceiling adds a limit to how big the box can be, you know, there's only certain things I can really put up here. But I'm pretty satisfied with the ones I'm able to put here. Like the first one up there is the Ultra Machine. It's a retro Nintendo toy that's a baseball toy, and I thought that was really cool that I could find that on eBay. I haven't looked for retro Nintendo toys on eBay for years at this point. I got that when I was making the Scott the Woz episode, Nintendo Before Video Games. But that was like a really cool thing, and the toy itself is actually like really fun and really cool. And then, you know, speaking of retro Nintendo, there's the Color TV Game 15 and TV Game Racing 112. So, you know, old pre-NES Famicom Nintendo stuff. And a lot of these are like, whatever, the Telstar, that's a Pong console, and Television, ColecoVision, the Vectrex, which is cool. And below that is a lot of the special edition boxes. So I have a lot of my Wii U accessory stuff here, and for the most part, I don't really put like accessory boxes out here, but it's the Wii U. That's my thing. But here we have a lot of the Wii U special editions I have, and the problem with these boxes is that they're all kinds of shapes and sizes, and it makes it just kind of hard to store them or display them. Especially if you kind of like alphabetizing and organizing like I do. And that's especially the case when we go down here. Like we have like Skylanders, Labo, the Famicom Mini Collection boxes, which are some of my favorite things that I own. These are really cool, and I talked about them in the Classic NES series for Game Boy Advance episode of Scott the Woz. But you know, there's these really large books that are really neat, that have like all this cool sprite art from the NES and Famicom. And yeah, I really like them. And then you open up the binders and they have all the GBA versions of the old Famicom games. It's really cool. And I wish I could display how really cool it is, but instead I put it next to damn Wii Fit U. So a lot of this stuff is like more modern Nintendo stuff. I have a lot of the mini console boxes here. You know, a lot of the ones you expect, like NES, SNES Classic Edition. Some more obscure ones, like, you know, the TurboGrafx 16, the Sega Astro City Mini, Neo Geo Mini. I honestly haven't played, like, a couple of these yet, but the mini consoles are, like, they're kind of cute, but, like, who cares? And then this is kind of the old Variety Hour shelf. You might be able to see what I'm saying here, like, you know, a lot of times the collection's in a bit of disarray. You know, like, once I'm done using something, if I'm playing it, or I'm using it to, you know, show on camera for a project. A lot of times I end up just putting it back on the shelf like this. You know, it's not like in total like disarray, but you know, like it's not that hard, man. You just put it back here. But you might see that a bit here and there. But for the most part, you know, this is all organized in the most disorganized way, because this is just a bunch of random junk. We have the nice Sega Saturn 3D control pad box there. I don't have any other boxes for the Sega Saturn, so that goes there. Seaman. And then here's the Atari Jaguar Pro Controller box. And this is like a pretty hard to find controller. And I have the whole box and everything. So, you know, I don't even think I actually put it here intentionally. I just kind of put it there for the time being. And then I'm like, you know what? That looks nice. I'm proud of this thing, so I'm gonna display it. And then we have my very few like GameCube boxes. This is something that I kind of want to get another one of, because you'll eventually see I have a shelf with some games that I really like, or boxes I really like, whatever. And this is one of them. I love little puzzle games, and especially Panel de Pon. Dr. Mario is cool. And then there's Yoshi's Cookie, but this was a Japan-only Nintendo puzzle collection for the GameCube. And this box comes with like a GBA link cable, because a cool thing with this was you were able to transfer these games to your Game Boy Advance, and you get like Game Boy Advance versions to play on the go, which is pretty neat. And yeah, you know, I just really like this release. But yeah, that starts my lineup of GameCube special boxes. Donkey Konga 1. Donkey Konga again. But then we have the PS2 boxes I have, which half of them are just iToy stuff. But then we also have, you know, Seaman and Seaman 2. And they come in fun boxes, because Seaman is all about, you know, talking to your Seaman. And, you know, you need a microphone on your controller, so they came with some special controllers on the PS2, which is really fun. And then I have a lot of sexual games on the PS2, because this one has the trans vibrator, which vibrates.
Forget about that one.
Yeah, that one's fun. I had Dominic play it.
Did he like it?
I don't know. You ask him. He looked happy to me. Then we have some larger boxes here, like Taiko Drum Master. This was one of the first big PS2 boxes I got. Like, I remember getting this when I first started collecting, just because, you know, I went to, you know, the local retro game store a lot, and, you know, they had this for pretty cheap, but I just never used it because, you know, just a lot of bullshit wires with it, and I haven't had really like a CRT TV, which is what you primarily have to use with guns like that, until recently, and I have not considered playing Time Crisis 3. I know I'm fake. But you know why I'm not a fake gamer? I own and have played Def Jam Rap Star, alongside other games on the PS3. Just a lot of junk here, mostly PlayStation Move garbage. I found it interesting how they had multiple Wonder Book titles on the PlayStation Move. I only really remember like Book of Spells, which was like some Harry Potter thing, but they did another one called Book of Potions, and then Walking with Dinosaurs. That's all I gotta say. Here we have some of the scraps. PS4 stuff, 360, PSP, iPad on the PSP. And then I just threw boxes from my Xbox Elite controllers here. And then his name is Zip. This is the Fling Smash guy. And I found him at an antique mall at some point. Apparently Nintendo released like these promotional plushes alongside Fling Smash, and this is like the only Fling Smash merch out there. Don't worry, I got him. But then later down here we get to DS and 3DS boxes, Wii stuff. Nothing all too crazy here. This is the Tatsunoko versus Capcom fighting stick, which is like one of the better arcade sticks you can get for your Wii. This right here, baby, and just a bunch of random stuff. This is kind of cool. This is a Wii Classic controller, still sealed in the box, but it comes with a prepaid card for 5,000 Wii points, which is about like 50 bucks. So that's kind of fun. And then there's also this other Classic controller that I have in the box, where it's a Wii Classic controller, but then it comes with one of these gross third-party gloves. I don't know, because like the glove isn't made by Nintendo, so it's just kind of strange to me that the controller is bundled with that, because I don't usually see an official controller bundled with a third-party gross little silicone sleeve, but whatever. I'm not gonna judge. But we have all this Wii stuff here. There's some stuff that I think is kind of neat. This is like Dragon Quest 1 through 3 on the Wii. Pretty much like what they did with Mario All-Stars on the Wii, which was pretty much just the SNES game on a Wii disc. This is pretty much the NES games or the Famicom games on a Wii disc, just to celebrate the anniversary, which, similar to Mario, was the 25th. And it only released in Japan, but you get some fun little fixins. And then here we have GoldenEye 007. This was a game I loved as a kid. And it comes with a free T-shirt, and they printed the back of the Wii box on a very cheap piece of paper to smack behind the T-shirt, which is interesting. But this was like a Walmart exclusive.
Still T-shirt that thing?
Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, that's my problem. I don't know what to do with this. Like, do I open it?
Yeah, you can't really put it back.
I don't know. Right? 3DS stuff, nothing that crazy. I think like one of the cooler things is the Box Boy trilogy that I have here, only released in Japan, and it comes with the QB amiibo, which is one of the harder to get amiibos. It's always funny when the most expensive of a lineup is like the most stupid looking thing imaginable, and this is one of the rarest amiibos that you can get. And we also have the Mega Man Legacy Collection. This came with the gold Mega Man amiibo, but that's where my amiibo are, in the closet. And then the DS stuff, most of this stuff I bought for the DS Accessories episode of Scott the Woz, so I don't have like huge attachment to a lot of this stuff other than thinking like it's really cool, like a Slide Adventure Mag Kid, which turns your DS into like an infrared mouse pretty much, and you slide it around to play the game. Literally like one of the most unique things like I've played. I haven't played much of it because it's all in Japanese, and also like, I don't know. I mean, like, how long do you want me to play that? But it's cool. I think it's neat. And just a bunch of other things like, Learn with Pokemon, Typing Adventure, which, comes with a Bluetooth keyboard. you know, just other stuff. The Guitar Hero on DS, Band Hero on DS. You know, let's get the hell out of here. So yeah, let's move on from these boxes to these boxes. I won't have nearly as much to say about these because we're kind of getting a little more to the, you know, like, these are the NES games. So there's not like a ton to say about these compared to like the special boxes. But yeah, these are a lot of the retro game boxes, pretty much all the retro game boxes that I have. I'm not, you know, all about getting boxes. For some reason, for a bit there, I got really into, like, if I would get Nintendo 64 games, I'd like to get them in the box, and I'm pretty happy with the Nintendo 64 games I own in the box. I got a lot of the good ones, and a lot of really cool ones. I think it's fun to get Nintendo 64 games in the box because the vast majority of them have like a unique like setup where you know, this side is green and then this side is red and then this side is like blue or purple, you know, colorblind, you know, okay.
Blue, you got it.
But you can kind of set them all up to be a certain color, and you know, it kind of lines up very well, so that's really fun. But yeah, up here we have you know, some more boxes for some really old junk nobody cares about. Atari 2600 and APF TV Fun. I think I picked that one because it fit. I have no attachment to that box, and it has no attachment to me, so maybe I'll swap it out for something. But you know, if you point a gun to me and tell me to care about this thing, you know, just fucking shoot me. But up here we have a lot of like the old pre-NES stuff that I have boxes for, and every now and then like I'll have like some homebrew stuff. I don't have a ton of like homebrew reproduction boxes, but you know, in some specific cases, you know, right here I have Halo 2600. Which is, you know, a really cool, you know, thing that happened where an ex-Microsoft employee, Ed Fries, made, you know, Halo for the Atari 2600. It's not really Halo, but you know, it's as close as you're gonna get. But that's really cool. And in addition, you know, we have a couple of Intellivision boxes. I don't care about the Intellivision. It is easily the one of the systems I care the least about. But you know, I have a couple of the boxes, because like, you know, at least with Atari, like you recognize some of those names. You can get like a couple minutes of fun out of an Atari game. And really enough, same with ColecoVision. ColecoVision is pretty cool. Do you give a shit?
Frog bog?
Frog bog.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, goes from Intellivision. I only have like one ColecoVision box, which I got for the 3D gaming episode of Scott the Woz, because you know, I was talking about Subrock 3D, which was, you know, a stereoscopic 3D game in the arcades, and this version isn't, but you know, I had to get the reference material. And then we also have two Vectrex boxes. This is definitely a more rare game that I own, 3D Crazy Coaster, which again I got for the 3D gaming episode of Scott the Woz. But yeah, you know, it works with the 3D headset for the Vectrex. And owning this complete in box is, yeah, that's pretty rare. You know, I'm not gonna act like, you know, I'm God's gift to Earth because of it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
After all this stuff, we have the Coleco little mini tabletop arcade thing. So Coleco, who made the ColecoVision, would make these LCD versions of like the arcade games back in like the 80s. So, you know, they did Pac-Man, and you know, they did Donkey Kong here. And yeah, I don't even know if this works. I think it does, but no batteries or anything. And it's a little dinged up, but I found this guy, and yeah, you know, it's a neat piece of little, you know, Nintendo Coleco video game history here. I remember my uncle really liked these. Like, my parents told me how much, like, oh, he had this Pac-Man one that he really liked, and I think we actually found one on eBay for him, like at this point decades ago, for like a Christmas present. So I've always known about these, and yeah, I found the Donkey Kong one, and you know, I'm trying to make a story out of this, and it's not really working. Let's move on to the NES shelf. Once again, nothing too crazy. I think probably the coolest thing I own is Mario 3 in box. But these other ones, like I kind of just like, when I would come across them, they came into the collection. Like I remember some of the earliest ones that I owned. This Yoshi's Cookie one was like in immaculate shape. I got this for like $20 at like the local retro game store, and it's like in perfect shape. It's Yoshi's Cookie, so who cares? But a lot of the other NES games that I own, you know, they were kind of just ones that were like cheap at the time when I first started collecting. By this point, like I don't really care about you know, buying a ton more NES games or getting them completed in box. You know, it's not one that I'm like that interested in doing, which is why you get like a lot of the stuff like Super Jeopardy in box, Pinball. And a lot of these aren't the cream of the crop, like damn, you got that one in the box. Now Super Nintendo, that's a different story. I mean, we got like Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Kart, Pilot Wings. I'm really happy with a lot of these boxes. Of course, I also have a lot of stinkers. Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. This was like $1 when I got this. And I love the fact that I only spent $1 on a complete in-box Super Nintendo game. If only it wasn't Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. But yeah, we got a couple of cool ones. Super Street Fighter 2, Tetris and Dr. Mario, Tetris Attack, which I love, Final Fight. But for the most part, you know, it's a couple more basic ones. Down here, we have kind of a mixture of like Sega Genesis, Famicom, Super Famicom, some reproduction Super Nintendo stuff, N64. There's just a bunch of random junk here. So the Genesis stuff, like later down in the Sega Genesis life, Sega switched over to cardboard boxes, which I despise. It's just dumb because Sega Genesis actually has like really hard cases, like hard plastic cases, and that's like the future there. That was like what everybody started doing afterwards. Everybody adopted the standard DVD cases or even just jewel cases, like CD jewel cases. But no, Sega decided to cheap out and they used these really bad cardboard boxes. Eventually, I kind of got some custom cases for these games in particular here that only came in cardboard boxes. So then they're on my shelf in these hard shell cases, so you know, I'm actually sleeping well now. But you know, I like owning useless garbage, so I keep the boxes and they stay here. But a couple other Sega Genesis things I own. This one right here is a reproduction, an official reproduction of Mega Man The Wily Wars, which was a game that only released via the Sega Channel here in North America. It had like a physical release in Europe and Japan, but over here, like it was some experimental garbage where, you know, it was kind of like, you know, streaming games or downloading games back then. And so yeah, it got a release here, but not one where you could ever physically own it. So it was really cool that Capcom partnered with Retrobit and they did a reproduction of this game on an official Sega Genesis cart, like back in 2020, 2021, somewhere around then. So, you know, that was really cool, and you know, I was happy to get that because that's a really cool release on the Sega Genesis. This one, I don't even know. It's a used game. It's a used copy of Madden '93, but it comes in a funny box. Then we just have Famicom games in the box there. And then these right here are the reproduction cartridges for like the competition cartridges for Nintendo World Championships, Nintendo Campus Challenge, PowerFest 94, Campus Challenge 92. Those are like some of the rarest, most expensive games of all time, mainly because they were never commercially really released. So yeah, the only way that you're really probably gonna own these is via repro cartridges, which I think is cool. I mean, you can find the ROMs online really easily, but you know, it's cool to get the cartridges, even if they're fake. A couple Super Famicom games. I got these three in particular at like Too Many Games one year. So, you know, Kirby Superstar, which I always found this box kind of funny. I've kind of gotten a couple weird ones. This is like a game developed by Nintendo, but it wasn't published by them. It's Snoopy Concert. And just, you know, some random ones, Mario RPG. It's like really cheap to get a lot of these like Japanese games like complete in box and like pretty much all the time in like perfect shape. Like this game is like in immaculate condition, and many times like the box art is more fun. It's cool to collect them. So, you know, like if you want cheaper to collect games, like the Japanese versions are oftentimes cheaper. So a lot of this is like the Japanese Nintendo stuff, including the N64 stuff, which all the North American stuff is down there, but the Japanese ones I own are kind of the funky ones. So like Animal Crossing and Custom Robo, just games that we eventually got on the GameCube, but you know, were originally released on the N64, only in Japan. And you know, some fun stuff like the Super Game Boy 2, and you know, Mario Artist. I think this is still kind of sealed. Yeah, Mario Artist is still completely sealed. Damn, I'm cool. Then we move over to N64, which, like I said, for a bit there, I was getting really into just getting, like, whenever I would pick up a new N64 game, I wanted it to be like all in the box and just really in good condition and all of that. And like I said, I'm pretty happy with my lineup. You know, we got Banjo-Kazooie, Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, DK64, and, you know, some fun stuff like Pokemon Stadium and Hey You Pikachu. We have both the Zeldas, Mario Kart, Mario Party 1 through 3, Smash Brothers, both versions of Star Fox, so the one that comes bundled with the Rumble Pack, and then the Player's Choice version, which is just the standard game. Yeah, you know, I'm pretty happy with my N64 collection. And then we have Game Boy stuff here. Definitely still have to organize some of this, so these are some of like the latest Game Boy games that I got. A lot of these were bought for like the store exclusives episode of Scott the Woz, so a lot of these, like, I don't give a damn about, but you know, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, I just kind of bleed the Game Boy into the Game Boy Color, into the Game Boy Advance. You know, once again, we got some cool stuff here. Both of the Zelda Oracle games, complete in box. That's a real cool thing I've done. You know, but I bought them, but you know, we have Donkey Kong Land and Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters. That's another cool one to own, complete in box, you know, because that's such like a forgotten game. And then we have Game Boy Advance, which, you know, I own more of. I definitely own a lot more of. I think like a big one is here we got Pokemon Fire Red, which you know, I assume this is real, but with Pokemon games, sometimes you never really know. Yeah, I pretty much, like, if I'm buying something like this, I don't even know what to look out for. Most of the time I'll go for stuff where, like, they have nothing to hide. They have the whole game, they unscrew the game cartridge and they show the board. I'm kind of like, okay, so you have nothing to hide and it's a little more expensive. That's probably a good sign. But that's probably what they want me to think. One of my favorite games on the Game Boy Advance is Metroid Zero Mission, so I have that complete in box. And then we also have, you know, A Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance. That's really cool. I think these Zelda boxes are always kind of lame because, like, for like 4 games in a row, they use like the exact same box art of just, it's gold with the exact same Zelda logo. But you know, it's still, I'm not above saying it is cool to own a Zelda game in box like this because they always look very nice and prestigious. And then down here, we have most of the classic NES series. I think the only one I'm missing the box for is Donkey Kong. Other than that, I believe that's the full like North American lineup. And then we also have Game Boy Advance video cartridges, which I think would be kind of fun to get a couple more of. You know, I grew up with a couple of those, so yeah, you know, I would be definitely down to own more useless shit. But I already own useless shit because at the bottom here, we have my Virtual Boy box collection, which is definitely one of the more impressive things that I've bought. I hate being like, damn, that's impressive when you're talking about game collecting. Motherfucker, you bought it on eBay. Who the hell cares? But some of this stuff is pretty cool. I think one of the most like rare things I own here is Jack Brothers on the Virtual Boy. The box is in like perfect shape, and this is like the Virtual Boy game that's like stupid expensive. And this was like the first Shin Megami Tensei game to come out in North America, and it was a spin-off and on the Virtual Boy. But yeah, this is like one of the rarest things I own here. In addition, I own a lot of the other Virtual Boy library in box. 3D Tetris is also like stupid expensive and hard to get. You know, we have Virtual Boy Wario Land, which is like the main game you want to play on the console. And then stuff like Waterworld, that's also really up there. And a couple of these others, I don't think a lot of these others are necessarily that crazy. I don't think Galactic Pinball is that expensive or rare. Nestor's Funky Bowling is kind of in that mid-range for Virtual Boy games. We also have Teleroboxer. I like tried to fix this box as much as possible. Mine is just kind of chumpy. Red Alarm, Panic Bomber, and a bunch of you know, Japanese only ones. So this one, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a horror game. It's a first-person game on Virtual Boy, which is very interesting. It's like, it actually takes advantage of what the Virtual Boy is, which is like, oh, you're in the headset, and you know, if you're gonna do any genre on the Virtual Boy, that's like it's blood red color, like, yeah, horror makes sense. Space Squash is funny. But yeah, those are pretty much a lot of the boxes of note that I own. Let's move over to the actual damn games I own. So like I said, this goes in rough chronological order, but you know, I fudge it a bit based on whatever makes sense. So, you know, I own a couple, you know, Atari games and Intellivision games and ColecoVision games and stuff. And like, honestly, like, you know, like if I care about anything on this shelf, it's probably gonna be the NES games, and even then, you know, like, whatever. Like, I love the NES, I love retro games, but like, what else is there to say at this point? I don't care. Like, you know, if I want to play an NES game, I'll fire up like Nintendo Switch Online or a collection or whatever. So yeah, all of the older games I own are kind of down here. Here I have all my Vectrex games, which I like the Vectrex. It's really cool. But I do know if you actually like the Vectrex, it's probably more efficient to get kind of like a multi-cart. There exists like some multi-carts that have like every Vectrex game on it. There's not a lot. It's like a dozen or two. So getting the actual games itself, whatever. I own a couple, and you know, they're cool. They're really cool. And something that I did here was I bought a little brochure holder to hold the overlays for my Vectrex. I'm so handy. But yeah, we have Intellivision and ColecoVision and Odyssey 2 games and Atari 7800 and 5200 and 2600 games. Whatever, I don't care. Sometimes I'll get kind of into it. Like for like a day, I was kind of like, man, you know, I'm gonna get a bunch more Atari games. And then I realized, like, what am I doing? Here we have NES. And like I said, I don't really have a ton more NES games that I really want. Of course, if I want to complete certain collections, like I only have Mega Man 2, 3, and 6. You know, I could get more, but at the same time, like again, when it comes to playing the actual games, even if I owned all the cartridges, I'd probably still just play like the Mega Man games on like the Mega Man Legacy Collection or something like that. I think a more recent thing that I got that I think is fun is I've been kind of interested in getting games for consoles that both have the same name, but they're two different games. So we have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, both versions, two completely different games. So, you know, that's kind of fun. But yeah, that's NES. I like NES, but it's also like, you know, I mean, I grew up back in like, you know, the 2010 era of YouTube, where it was all about the retro game review and all of that, and retro gaming was big, and now who gives a shit? Like, these games are cool, and it's really cool piece of history, and a lot of them are really fun to play again, or they're fun to laugh at, or it's really interesting. But at the same time, what else is there to say about Mario 3? You know, it doesn't matter. But yeah, in terms of like extra stuff, I have an EverDrive here where, you know, you load it up with ROMs on a micro SD card, but I haven't used it yet. But that should be interesting to kind of dick around with at some point. And then, like I said before, we have the competition cartridges, the repros of those. And then I usually kind of set like more different things in the collection off to the side. So these are the unlicensed games. I have Tengen Tetris, which was the unlicensed Tetris that had to be pulled off the shelf once Nintendo put their version out. And yeah, the thing with these shelves is I like to have some room to grow, but for the time being, I kind of just put whatever I have here. So I have like a set of Nintendo Hanafuda cards that whatever, that makes sense there. And then, you know, a Game Genie. And then here we have Famicom games. Not a ton, and they don't often have end labels, so it's kind of hard to organize on the shelf and, you know, actually pull them out. But, you know, I have a couple of them, and, you know, it depends, you know, like why I own some of these. You know, Hello Kitty World. This is interesting because this is a reskin of Balloon Fight on the Game Boy for the Famicom. Okay, and then off to the side we have Famicom Disk System stuff. That's it. I mean, like, you know, okay, fine. I'll talk about this. So this is a bootleg version. I mean, like of Falcon on the Famicom Disk System. You can tell because it doesn't say Nintendo right there. But you know, who the hell cares? I got ripped off. Here we have Mario 2, the original Mario 2. That's pretty interesting. And then, you know, Mario on the Disk System, the Famicom Detective Club games. This would definitely be something I would be interested in looking into more, getting more Famicom Disk System games, because they're kind of neat. But for the time being, let's move on to Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo is kind of same deal as NES, you know. I like the Super Nintendo. You know, some of the best games of all time on that system. But what the hell do you want me to say about it? Once again, we have a big old stack of games that I have not put back, so let's avoid those. We go over here to the Super Famicom games. Similar story to the Famicom, where they don't have end labels, so you know, they're kind of awkward to have here. But whatever. I have a couple of the more valuable games, so we have like Earthbound, Chrono Trigger. Yeah. I don't know. I'll move over here. This is something from my air vent that fell off. And then moving on to the N64. So yeah, I have a lot more cartridges than boxes. That's probably to be assumed. But yeah, I have end labels for all of these that I bought on Etsy years ago at this point. So yeah, and like there's always people making stuff like this. But the N64 library is so small, about like 300 or something games, that you know, it's pretty easy to just get the whole library in sticker form. And then once you get games, you pop them on the thing, and it's pretty satisfying. But the N64 I do like quite a bit, but you know, it's never been like my all-time favorite. So you know, once again, you know, as much fun as it is to be peeling these stickers off kind of as a little checklist to get the whole Nintendo 64 library, I'm not necessarily in a huge rush to get Earthworm Jim 3D. But what I was in a rush to get was most of the Nintendo 64 DD games. This is probably something that's a little hard to do these days. It was hard to do back then, but I was able to get like most of the 64 DD games, which is the obscure add-on from Japan that only had like a couple games. But this one is impossible to find. It's Japan Pro Golf Tour 64. It's goddamn golf. That's all it is. But it's worth like thousands, and it's like you never see it on eBay, or you might see it right now. There might be dozens of copies. I don't know, but I barely saw it back in the day. But yeah, you know, I have a lot of the you know. the games for the 64 DD. I think the only ones I'm missing is like all the Mario Artist games. I have like the one over there that's sealed, but you know, there's a couple more in the series, and I'm keeping that one sealed because, you know, it's sealed. Why would I'm not gonna open that. I mean, I'm pretty pro, like you know, just rip the seal off, who cares? But for something like obscure like that, that's more of kind of like a cool little thing to own at that point. So I'm like, yeah, I'll keep that sealed, but or maybe eventually someday I'll open it up. But you know, for now, you know, oh well. And we'll take a break from Nintendo for a second. Here we have kind of the Sega slash like you know, alternative wall or shelf, and you know, above here we have 2 Genesis boxes, and over there we actually have a Super Nintendo Junior box, an Atari Jaguar box, Atari 5200 and 7800. But this right here is mostly all about Sega. And right here is the scraps from an NHL 96 case. Pretty much, I had to use this case during a giant scene where I was splatting a bunch of stuff on a Sega Genesis game, and I decided to sacrifice the plastic case I had for NHL 96, and I have yet to get a replacement. I'm sorry. But up here, we have Sega Master System. I wish I had more Sega Master System. I think it's a fun little system. It's just like an alternate reality NES, and most of the games on it, there's just this pathetic aura about it. I do kind of like it. I have a couple of interesting games here, most notably like most of the Sonic games on it. So, you know, Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, Spinball. Then we also have this one right here, which is Street Fighter 2 on the Master System. This is one of the funny, weird ones that I have, only released in Brazil, but yeah, I like it. I like a lot of that weird stuff on the Master System. And here we have Sega Genesis. This was the first video game console I ever owned, so I definitely really like looking back at this console. And you know, I definitely prefer Super Nintendo, but there's just something about Genesis that has such its own like flavor, its own funk. So like every now and then I get really back into the Genesis, and you know, there's just something really premium feeling about getting like a really cool classic Genesis game. Here's an example of like the custom game box I have for, you know, some of the Genesis games that only had cardboard boxes, and I got this from like customgamecases.com. And yeah, it's perfect. It's just, it's pretty much just helps fit right alongside the other Genesis games. But I love the Genesis. I mean, like, I got some of the cool, more obscure stuff. Not really obscure, but just more sought after stuff like Castlevania Bloodlines. And we also have Ghouls and Ghosts. Like I said, we have Mega Man The Wily Wars right there, Rocket Knight Adventures, all the Sonics. Something I kind of like about Genesis is like when they, for a bit there, it was mostly like you had the NES out and the Genesis. It took a little bit longer to get the Super Nintendo out. So you have like Genesis versions of like NES games, like whatever, Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants. But just random stuff like that. There's a lot of just interesting junk on the Genesis that I really like looking back at. And you know, every now and then I just kind of get more into like, you know what? Fuck it, it's time to get a new Genesis game. Shove it. But yeah, beneath that we have my small Sega 32X collection. We have Cosmic Carnage, Doom, and Knuckles Chaotix, which is probably the, you know, my crown jewel of the 32X. Yeah, it's pretty manageable to get like a full 32X lineup. It's very similar to something like Virtual Boy, like getting a full Virtual Boy lineup. Yeah, you're gonna pay up the ass for certain games, but overall, like, I mean, there's not a ton of games, so it's fairly manageable. But yeah, I mean, 32X is just kind of like, there's barely anything on that system. Like, I'd say half the library is just kind of whatever titles, like, who cares? And then the other half is like, fine, but like, I don't really think there's really like a must. Like, damn, you gotta get a 32X to play Cosmic Carnage. Next to it, we have Game Gear games, and these are all custom cases that I got from customgamecases.com. You know, Game Gear has always been in cardboard boxes, so that's what I love, like custom websites like that, where I can get kind of these smaller Genesis-like cases for the Game Gear, where I can easily hold the games, because it just makes it a lot easier to just look at your shelf and be like, oh yeah, you know, I do own the Coca-Cola Kid. But yeah, nothing crazy on Game Gear. Honestly, some of the games just don't really work because I got them in like lots when I got a Game Gear. So like, I think like Mortal Kombat doesn't really read very well, or one of the other games I have doesn't really read very well, but like, it's the Game Gear. I don't play the Game Gear very often. Once again, I know I'm really fake. Down here, we have Sega CD. Nothing that crazy. That is, other than Wild Woody. This one's fun. You ever see the opening cutscene for this?
You got a name, Leadhead. Call me Woody. Wild Woody.
Yep. Down here, we have Sega Saturn. Really fun console to collect for. Bunch of like cool gems on the console. And I got a couple of cool things here. You know, I have Resident Evil, but unfortunately, this is one of my lame pickups on eBay when sometimes you accidentally aren't looking too well, And yeah, a good chunk of the case is like a reproduction. So like I did analyze the back of the box, and I'm like, this looks like it was printed off with an inkjet printer, and so does the spine. And I looked at the original eBay listing, and it says like, yeah, it's a reproduction, and I'm like, spent a lot of money on this. So yeah, I would like to get an original copy of this. You know, hey, the disc is real, and the manual here is real. So you know, I mean, you know, count your blessings. But yeah, that's really unfortunate. But, you know, other than that, I got a couple of cool things. You know, Sonic Jam. I own Sonic Jam. I'm one of those motherfuckers. Mr. Bones. I own Mr. Bones. I mean, like, there's stuff that you don't really expect on the Saturn, like Mega Man 8, Tomb Raider. I think Rayman's on there. The original Resident Evil, like I showed. There was a Golden Axe game, you know, Golden Axe from the Genesis and the arcades. That got a game on the Saturn. Fighters Mega Mix is funny because you can play as the car from Daytona, USA. You know, Croc. You gotta have Croc. And yeah, you know, I would like to get more Saturn stuff. Really cool console. It's one of those where, like, there's a ton of games on the thing, but, you know, it's relatively obscure in the grand scheme of things, at least in North America. You know, it did really well in Japan, and there's just so much stuff on there, and it has, like, its own unique feel. It's a really cool console, but it can be kind of expensive to buy games for it. So I don't have a ton, and you know, I would like to get more eventually, but not at the top of my priorities right now. Because what is at the top of my priorities right now is the fact that I need to showcase that I own Atari carts. This is another really rare game. You can actually get it fairly easily now, at least like play it, because it's included in like the Atari 50 anniversary celebration collection on like all the consoles. So you know, it's available like everywhere now. But hey, the original copy is pretty cool to own, and the Atari Jaguar is just a funny little bastard. I own a bunch of random Atari Jaguar games, all in the box randomly. Like, I only own Atari Jaguar games in the box, which is pretty interesting. But Tempest 2000, that's the big one that's like, oh, that's a really good game on the Atari Jaguar. The Atari Jaguar version of Doom is good. Kasumi Ninja is a funny fucking Mortal Kombat ripoff. That's what it is. I'm sorry for swearing. And Attack the Mutant Penguins, you know, it is what it is. Then we also have my only TurboGrafx 16 game, which is the game that was a pack-in for the console, Keith Courage in Alpha Zones. That's it for this shelf. That brings us over to the actual fun stuff. We have my GameCube collection. I grew up with the GameCube. This is like my favorite console of all time. Just so much about this console still like holds up today. It's really it's such a fun system. It's not a perfect system by any means. Like, yeah, you know, you got a lot more games on the PS2 and all of that, but I don't care. It's my favorite console. It's just so fun. In terms of like games that I own for the GameCube that are interesting, you know, it's kind of just a lot of the basic stuff that, you know, like everybody knows. Chibi Robo is pretty expensive, I guess. There's that. One thing I thought that was cool for a bit there were all the demo discs available. The fact that you could get all these games that were given out to stores to play at the GameCube kiosks. And, you know, they all have these, you know, like box arts and actual cases, and you can kind of all line them up where, you know, they all say the version number, so, you know, you can try to go for a complete set. That was cool for like a couple days, and then I kind of realized like that would be miserable to get a full set of. But, you know, there's some cool stuff you can get there. I mean, you know, like demo discs are kind of cool because that way you can kind of see like early versions of games or like cool like preserved trailers and whatnot. I have a couple of imports. For some reason I own Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone from Europe. And then we have some Japanese games. So, you know, I have Donkey Konga 3, which only released in Japan because we're too scared. Dream Mix TV World Fighters, which is Konami Smash Brothers, where, you know, you can play as Megatron and a doll, and Bomberman. And then we have Pikmin 2 here. I own this because I wanted to test out like the, it had like e-reader support for the Game Boy Advance, but I haven't done that yet. Here's The Legend of the Quiz Tournament of Champions. It's a quiz game in Japan. And then Nintendo Puzzle Collection, just the actual game here. So yeah, you know, and most of the other games I own are kind of like, you know, I mean, it's weird to be like, oh yeah, it's the basic GameCube stuff, but for the most part, a lot of it is kind of the basic GameCube stuff. You know, you have all the Mario games, you have all the Zelda games, and Metroid Prime 1 and 2. I have all the Resident Evils, which is cool, all the Sonics. You know, like, it's kind of hard to be like, damn, you know, like, oh man, look at this one, eh? I just love the GameCube lineup, and it's a really cool and nice system to own a bunch of games for. I mean, like, look at that. That just looks nice. And below that, we have PlayStation 1. This was another console that I grew up with, but don't really have, like, a ton of, like, huge attachment towards. I got my cousin's hand-me-down one, and I played, like, 2 games on it, and not a lot of them. But I've bought, like, a bunch more games for it. A lot of these are like real stinkers. Like I don't have the most quality PS1 collection. Like a lot of the time I'll go to like a retro game store, and a lot of the PS1 games that are available and cheap are stuff like, you know, we have Bear in the Big Blue House and The Cat in the Hat. Or there's stuff like, you know, PS1 Pong on the PlayStation. They have a couple of random old Atari Asteroids. Like, what the hell was going on? But I've been slowly building up the collection in terms of like the more, you know, like substantial titles. You know, we have Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2 and Crash Team Racing. No 3 right now, but we also have Final Fantasy 8 here, Grand Theft Auto Director's Cut, which is really cool. And it includes Grand Theft Auto London, which was an expansion pack, which I also own by itself right here. And it's actually sealed, which is pretty cool. We got Hooters Road Trip and Lego Island: The Brickster's Revenge. And then a couple of other random things. You know, we have some imports down here. For a bit there, I've been trying to get like every single version of Tetris, which I think is an impossibility, but I've been damn well trying. So we have Tetris, and then we also have Street Fighter 2 movie, which is an interactive version of a Street Fighter 2 anime adaptation film that they put on a PlayStation disc, and I think they just have you press buttons at certain times during the movie. So that's kind of fun. Overall, the PS1, it's not a console that I'm like really that overly passionate about, but it is one that I kind of go in and out of, where I'm like, damn, I should get more PS1 stuff, and then like 2 years pass where I don't even think about the thing. All right, and here we have like the scraps of scraps. Like, there is nothing really here. This is my Dreamcast collection, which, you know, I have some more notable titles. We have some Japanese games here. Like I said, here we're going with more Tetris, but in addition, you know, we have we have Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. You know, and those are pretty big games. But then we also have Shenmue. That's cool. Sega Smash Pack Volume 1 and Seaman. But other than that, I mean, like, there's really not much going on the Dreamcast side of things. I really like the Dreamcast. It's a really, really cool console. You don't see the games around that much, so it's kind of hard to fully collect for the thing. And if we want to talk about weird things to collect for, I mean, like, god damn, I don't even know how to put this on my shelf. These are my CDI and 3DO games. CDI wise, I mean, we got some stuff. We have the Zelda games, which is a big thing. You know, the Zelda CDI games, Link the Faces of Evil and Zelda the Wand of Gamelon. This one is in a weird position, and it's also broken. But in addition, I also have like a demo disc version of Zelda the Wand of Gamelon, which is pretty interesting. And 3DO-wise, we have this big fucking thing. Doesn't fit anywhere other than down here. And then we have, you know, and Doom and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is probably the definitive version of the game, at least on consoles. So yeah, you know, we got some stuff on 3DO. Don't really care about the 3DO. I do have a 3DO. Weirdly enough, I don't think I have a CDI, mainly because there's so many versions of the CDI out there that you know, I kind of want to make sure I'm getting the right one. But unfortunately, it's not at the top of my priorities. I'm really sorry. But what is at the top of my priorities is a PlayStation 2 box and this PS3 box, which I think is pretty cool. I remember seeing this thing available on Amazon one Black Friday, and this was like the PS3 that was on like my wish list for a bit there. I remember when I really wanted to get into game collecting, I would bookmark Amazon pages of you know, games or systems that I wanted, and I wanted this version of the PS3, which was white, and then it came with it might have come with these 3 games, or it just might have come with PlayStation Plus, which included these 3 games. I believe it came with these 3 games, maybe. But either way, I only have the box for this. I think I found the box online. I don't have the white PS3. A lot of this shit is pointless too. It's not just this. PS2, I will tell you, if I will downsize my collection, half of my PS2 games will be the first to go. Mainly because I randomly got into a bit of a funny little funk. Some may call it depression, I may call it I bought a lot of random PS2 games that don't matter at all. I kind of wanted to get some PS2 games that were kind of weird on the PS2, stuff that you kind of associate with the Wii, but for some reason, because the Wii and the PS2 were both kind of going on at the same time and they had such large install bases, they put a lot of games out on the Wii and the PS2. So you have stuff like Boogie. How the hell does this work on PS2? It's like the Wii game is like motion control and stuff. Why? There's Ski and Shoot. Fucking crosswords. A lot of weird stuff on the PS2. They literally put like every single possible game they could have on this console. But that's not to say they don't have a lot of good stuff and stuff that I actually care about. You know, we have stuff like, oh, Oni, that's really cool. That's like a Rockstar published game developed by Bungie. Then we have the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, back when like Grand Theft Auto was like firing at all cylinders. I mean, we got these 3 like masterpieces, and yeah, it's really, you know, I remember this box art in like Walmarts all the time. Like I remember going into Walmart and this thing was just available every single time I would walk into a Walmart. I'm pretty sure some Walmarts still have it. But yeah, on the PS2, I mainly got a lot of just stuff that I thought looked kind of funny. I own Sitting Ducks, but yeah, I also have a lot of like European games, and I believe the European standards on PS2 were a lot lower. You could put anything on a PS2 disc over in Europe, so you know. You have some weird stuff like the Home Alone game. Like what is this? And of course, the Mouse Police. But yeah, there's just so much stuff on the PS2. It's not like my most passionate game console, so that's why I'm kind of like, probably one of the first things I downsize is a lot of the just garbage PS2 games I own. But, you know, I've learned to really appreciate the console over time. There's just like some of the greatest games of all time on this thing, and the amount of variety on this console is like unheard of. There's so many of the most iconic game franchises of all time that started on PS2, and in many cases were like exclusive to the PS2. Like, for example, Time Splitters. I believe that's on PS2, and that was exclusive originally. That's like one of the most beloved game franchises from back in the day. And then you also have Guitar Hero. The first Guitar Hero, that was exclusive to the PS2. Even Half-Life. Half-Life 1, the port outside of the PC, was exclusive to PS2. There's just so much stuff on this platform, and I'm only really talking about the wacky, weird stuff, but that's just this generation in general. The 6th generation of gaming is just full of like so much fun stuff. You can always go back to this generation, and it's just fun. There's some fun stuff. I mean, look at the Xbox. Look at this stupid ass little console. So this is one where I have this stack of games I have to put back on the shelf. Is there anything of note here? Sneakers. But yeah, I have a fair amount of stuff here. More notable ones, you know, we have Conquer Live and Reloaded. You know, that's a really cool remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day. In many ways, it's inferior but graphically, like, that game looks insane. It's just like the fur textures they have in that game are like, it's like, this is an Xbox game? That's crazy. We also have, we have Futurama on the Xbox, which is a bit more expensive. That's a bit more up there.
Cat in the Hat's up there.
There it is. It is. I don't have a lot to say about some of these games.
Nick Party Blast, that one.
I like the Xbox, but I've been talking for like 2 hours. Sometimes you just don't have anything to say. The Wallace and Gromit movie game is on the Xbox. That's pretty cool. Well, down here, we have these obscure little guys right here. These are all Nuon games. Now, what's the Nuon, you might say? It's weird. I have more to say about this than the damn Xbox. The Nuon is like this weird DVD player kind of thing from the 2000s where it was like a DVD player where it had the ability to play some games. So they kind of pitched it to like people as like, hey, you can get a DVD player and also it's a game console at the same time. Much like how like a PS2 was pitched as a game console with a DVD player, but Nuon was more of a DVD player with a game console. But weirdly enough, like most of the games on on like the Nuon were like Atari Jaguar games, but like upgraded. It's really weird. So you have like Tempest 3000, like Tempest 2000 on the Atari Jaguar, and Iron Soldier 3, which like I believe Iron Soldier started on the Atari Jaguar. Just weird stuff. And I have a Nuon, and I also have a Nuon controller, which that's the hard thing. Some of these games are really easy to get, and also they have been reprinted officially. There have been reproductions of like Tempest 3000, I believe, or actually no, I think it's Iron Soldier and Ballistic. But yeah, this is just such an obscure thing from like the early 2000s, like a random like DVD player video game hybrid system. But I think the main thing that's really hard to come across are the controllers. I own one of them. But I own multiple Intellivision Amico games. I'm swimming in garbage. So this here, I've kind of wanted to turn my game room into a bit of an actual game room, an actual fun place to hang out and play games, or just kind of like go, I don't know. I mean, like, I think I'm a little nostalgia'd out. I know that's weird for me to say after you just see all this old shit in my room, but I'm very much like, hey, I don't need to live in the past all the time or anything. I don't need to be like, damn, things were way better back in the day. That's true in many cases, but like I like this old stuff. I think it's cool. I don't need it to be my whole thing, and I'm also very much like, this is here, and I use it when it's fun to use it. I bought this CRT for Borderline Forever, actually, because there's that segment at the beginning where, the whole like old school how-to video is playing. And I wanted to play on an actual older TV. So I found this on Facebook Marketplace, and it turns out this is one of the best CRTs for old game consoles and whatnot. So I kept it around, and I found this corner TV stand on Amazon for pretty cheap. And I hooked up a bunch of game consoles that, I might want to play on this old TV. And it's a fun experience. I don't use it all the time, not even at all. Probably a couple times a year, honestly. But when I do, it's just a fun experience. I don't even just play games on here. I have a VCR and DVD player hooked up here. And it's honestly kind of fun to watch like old movies on it, put in a VHS tape from time to time. It is a total novelty. I'm not gonna be like, damn, this is the way things need to be, but like this is how I grew up watching movies. This is how I grew up playing games. So every now and then, it's kind of fun to sit on this couch and just kind of like, just have a little fun, like with a novelty kind of a way to play games or watch movies. So we have this JVC CRT here, and it works like a charm. But the problem is, it's an older TV. So certain elements don't age very well. So as an example, this little flip down thing, yeah, that broke. So, but you can just kind of put it right back and it's fine. But that was unfortunate when that happened. But yeah, we go down here and we have the VCR with DVD player. And I also have the Xbox 360 HD DVD drive here. I don't know why. Part of me kind of wants to hook up the Xbox 360, like the old school Xbox 360 up to here. And I know it's a little counterintuitive or weird to be like, I want to watch HD DVDs on this fucking TV. But why would I be watching HD DVDs in general? So, you know, whatever. But yeah, we also have this switcher right here that I plugged in pretty much all of these consoles into via just regular composite, you know, the yellow and white cables. Some people would probably be like, oh, that's not the best video quality you could use on this TV. I don't care because, like I said, this is a complete novelty to me. I don't care about the best picture quality because I use this TV when I kind of just want to go back to when I was 10 years old and watching Return of Jafar. But this thing is pretty cool. I have an HDMI switcher for, you know, my modern consoles, but the problem with that is that it needs to be powered all the time to work. This guy, all you got to do is just plug all the systems in. You don't need a power adapter. It just works. So I got the Wii and GameCube turned on, and I can just immediately just go to input 2, and I can find the Wii somewhere. I don't know if the Wii's plugged in, but you understand how quick and seamless that is. That's a lot of fun. But that kind of brings up the question of what other consoles do I have plugged in here? Pretty much I kind of went for the ones that made sense to me, ones that I can imagine playing on this TV. In this corner we have an NES top loader, which doesn't have AV out, which is unfortunate. It's only RF, which, you know, you got to screw into the back, but, you know, hey, this TV had an extra coaxial input to screw that into. And like I said, I don't really care about video quality on this TV. It's kind of all about just the old TV experience at that point. We have Super Nintendo that's plugged in. We have, like I said, VCR to watch movies on. And then we have Nintendo 64. We got a jungle green one there. And an Atari 7800, which is actually modded for AV out. The Atari 7800 only had RF out originally, but I got this one off of eBay modded. And yeah, I could play like Atari 2600 games on it or 7800 games on it. I don't know. I mean, like, Atari has its charm, and I think especially if you're playing on an old TV. I know this TV is a little more modern for Atari, but it's still kind of fun. It's still kind of cool to play older stuff on this TV. And then over here we have, you know, GameCube plugged in, Sega Genesis Model 2, which is the one I had as a kid. And we also have a PS2, which is the fat PS2. And what's interesting about this one is that, I mean, it's not really interesting. It's more so like, look at this. It has like the blue stand that you kind of see in like all the promotional material for the PS2. But like, I don't think anybody owned this thing. If you look at a picture, if you look up picture of PS2 on Google Images, most of them will have this stand. I don't think a single person owned this stand, but I needed to use this stand because that's the only way I could get it to fit on this thing. So hey, that's fun. And we also have a Wii here. This is actually my childhood Wii. That's nice to be able to just, you know, kind of play and have a little bit of nostalgia there, which it's always kind of weird to say, oh, I want to have nostalgia playing the Wii. It makes me feel like a damn baby, but, you know, hey, it's whatever. This thing's like decades old at this point, so it's kind of fun to go back and, you know, enjoy stuff on this older TV. I've talked about her enough, and this is where she is. It's the Vectrex. I love the Vectrex. If I'm playing anything from this era in gaming, like this is from like Atari 2600, 5200 era, the Vectrex is one of the coolest things to go back to. Mainly because like it all uses vector graphics, and it's all on its own display. So it's like, you don't even have to worry about plugging it into a TV and worrying if it'll look good, because there's nothing truly like the Vectrex. It is so stinking cool. The fact that it uses vector graphics means that everything is just so smooth. There's nothing else really like this out there. It's really, really cool, and it's really easy to just kind of plug in and just start playing. And then you just turn it off, and then you put the controller back in. And I just think that's really cool. It's such an interesting thing from back in the early 80s that still holds up. It's still like really unique. It's in its own little world. And I would so much rather play this than a fucking Intellivision. A big thing I've been working on is just kind of like putting stuff in places to just kind of make things a little nicer. I've been trying to do that a little more. And as you can see too, I painted this wall. I didn't do a good job of painting this wall. I'm probably gonna try and get somebody who knows what the hell they're doing to paint the wall a little better. But you know, I'm trying here. And one of the ways that you can tell I'm trying is I'm putting a Virtual Boy box next to my TV. It's kind of the same case as, you know, the console boxes that I talked about, you know, at the beginning of this. But yeah, it's all about just kind of like what fits where and what looks good, you know, wherever. You know, if I could have my way, certain things would be next to other certain things, but, you know, the Virtual Boy box fits here, and the Virtual Boy box is kind of neat. So that goes there. There's nothing below it. I don't know what to put there right now. But then we have the Ouya box, the OnLive box, just two micro consoles that, you know, I just, you know, they're both failures in their own way, but, you know, I think they're kind of fun to kind of display like this. And then we also have the NES top loader, which you also see, you know, plugged into the TV. But, you know, that's like one of the cooler redesigned Nintendo systems. And I own the box for it. So that's something that, you know, I kind of want out and about. I want proudly displayed. Before we get to all the Xbox 360 games, because I assure you, I have so much to say about Peter Jackson's King Kong the game. This is just kind of like a bunch of extra junk that I have that, you know, I kind of just put all together. You know, a lot of this is video game stuff. A lot of it isn't video game stuff. But yeah, it kind of goes along with the TV there, just kind of a bit of like old media corner, I guess. Up here, we have some weird stuff. First up, the Zeebo. That is a Brazilian game console. And then we have Battle Tag. What I really like about this, back when like, you know, remember like during E3, when like everybody would say like, these were the worst moments of E3 blank, or like E3 history, the silliest moments. Like one of those moments was like during the Ubisoft press conference, like Joel McHale was hosting, and then randomly the whole like stage just broke out in like a giant laser tag fight, and then Ubisoft announced, we're doing laser tag now. And combining it with video games. So many people will talk about that moment, but I don't think anybody ever talked about the actual game that came out of that. And I found the game Battle Tag. That's what it is. It's like a laser tag PC game that comes with like guns and stuff. And I've never played it, but I found it on eBay a while back, so I'm pretty proud of owning that one, because I've never seen anybody actually like talk about the game itself. Everybody just talks about the super cringy E3 moment. But yeah, here we have some Japanese Nintendo boxes, Super Famicom, and the Satellaview add-on for the Super Famicom. And just a bunch of like weird stuff here. This is kind of just the bonus shelves. This is a lot of PC stuff, older PC stuff. Up here is kind of the weird computer stuff that, like, a lot of it is like Japanese computers. So like here I have like two old versions of Pac-Man on like the Commodore 64 and Apple II. Super Mario Bros. Special for like Japanese PCs. That's very interesting. That's one of the cooler things that I own here. And then multiple versions of like Tetris. We have like Tetris for the MSX2, IBM computers, Commodore 64, Eltris on the Mac. Just a bunch of like random old computer stuff. This is Street Fighter 2 on cassette. Just stuff where like not all this is really like for the same thing at all, but like I don't know where else to put it, and like it all just makes sense together. Below that we have like more traditional PC stuff. These are like all the big boxes. And I'm not into PC collecting whatsoever. Most of this stuff I get for, you know, episodes I'm working on, projects I'm working on. But a lot of it is from my childhood. Stuff like Toon Twister 3D, you know, Civilization 5, and you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Just a bunch of like stuff. I mean, I never played anything that great on PC, but you know, just a bunch of stuff. The Office, and then below that we have you know, PC games that are just in jewel cases. So you know, these are just kind of put together and alphabetized because, you know, they're all a lot more uniform. These, like, I just have to put them where, you know, just put anything in a big box together, put all the jewel cases together. And this is a Nuon controller, motherfucker. The problem is when I find some of these, like, they're sealed, I don't know what to do at that point, because like this is like a really obscure, hard to find thing. I don't want to use it, but I don't know what to do. It's really cool as like a little showpiece, but at the same time, who the f is gonna come in here and be like, holy shit, that's a Nuon controller. That's one of the coolest things ever. I'd say that, but you know, would you? So who knows? Might open it at some point, or I could find an actual like opened one later, but whatever. Down here, let's just talk about this. We have all my Nintendo powers. Nintendo Power is something where I hear so many people, it's mostly like a lot of the retro gamers out there, that hey, like Nintendo Power was so cool back in the day, back during whatever, when like Felix the Cat was the cover item. And these are cool, but most of this is like walkthroughs and guides for games out at the time. There's like some stuff like, you know, comics and whatnot, but man, like what I really love is, of course, you know, what I'm nostalgic for, and what I'm nostalgic for is the best thing ever. Of course, what I'm trying to get at here is like everybody's nostalgic for their like childhood stuff, so I don't blame people for being like, oh man, this stuff was the best. When they start going in N64 and GameCube, who the hell cares? I the hell care, mainly because I think it's really cool to look back during this era and just see like what was brand new at the time, what was news. I love looking back at like old video game news and just seeing what people thought at the time, instead of like looking at walkthroughs of Felix the Cat. That's not very interesting for me right now. Whereas, you know, I love looking back when Nintendo Power focused a little more on reviews and news and previews and all of that stuff. I think that's really cool. And I own a good chunk of Nintendo Powers. This right here was the first issue I ever had, which was in holiday of 2008. And I subscribed to Nintendo Power for, I'd say like a good, like 2.5 years or so. So, you know, and this is something that I like to kind of chip away at from time to time. I'll kind of go on eBay, buy a couple issues, or I'll buy a couple issues if I see it at a game store or whatnot. But, you know, it's just something, you know, it's not at the top of my priority list. It's like if I'm talking about stuff not at the top of my priority list, definitely all this stuff. I was given half of these Game Informers. Some of them were mine from back in the day. I subscribed to Game Informer for a little bit, but a lot of this stuff was kind of just given to me. I believe like a family friend worked at like a place that like got like books as donations or whatever, and they came across like dozens of Game Informers, and they were like, "Do you want them?" And I'm like, so I have a bunch of Game Informers. It's fine, whatever. And we also just have a bunch of like random video game magazine type stuff here, and then random video game books. This right here is like the Nintendo company booklet, like a brochure they give to you know, people looking to work for the company in Japan. And it's really weird because it's mostly just like a random, like kind of like very artsy, like representation of the stuff Nintendo was like working on within that year. So this was 2017. So we have Breath of the Wild, then we have Captain Toad, Mario, a history of Nintendo, a Joy-Con blasting off. I don't know what they're getting at here, but it is pretty cool to own something like this, especially when it's like, yeah, this is what, you know, this is what they were giving out in the Japan company. So yeah. Very cool. Down here, we have more video game related books, which pretty much all of these are like guidebooks or like art books. I don't really collect guidebooks or art books, really. Like, these are just kind of like random ones that I happen to own, so nothing crazy here. But this stuff right here is more random video game stuff and eventually movie stuff, media. Up here we have my Gizmondo collection. What's the Gizmondo? It was run by the Swedish Mafia. Sticky balls. Yeah, that was like one of the worst handheld game consoles of all time, especially nowadays, because the material they used to just coat the thing has turned sticky over time, so it is lame as hell to hold. But yeah, I own a fair amount of the Gizmondo library because I think it's genuinely very interesting in a bad way. But yeah, I own a fair amount of those. Over here is kind of just obscure handheld stuff. So I believe this is a Neo Geo Pocket Color version of Pac-Man and the Wonder Swan Color version of Tetris. So there's those, and those are just kind of there because I don't really have any other place to put them. But I'm just noticing that I have all my other Neo Geo Pocket Color games right here. And I forgot I owned all these. I really like the Neo Geo Pocket Color. That thing is such a fun little system, and it is pretty much entirely because it has a clicky little stick. And that's pretty much it. It's just fun to use. But the screen's really nice, even though it doesn't have a backlight. Really fun system to use, and I have a decent stack of games. But yeah, I forgot I had those, probably because I got them in a lot when I bought my Neo Geo Pocket Color. But if we want to talk about funny systems and whatnot, I have a bunch of N-Gage games. The N-Gage is such a weird little thing. Pretty much like a cell phone mixed with a game console back in like 2003. And they have a lot of big names on this. We have, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Tomb Raider, Call of Duty, Puyo Pop, Rayman 3, Sonic N, Super Monkey Ball, Tom Clancy. Bunch of stuff on this console. So, it's not the worst thing in the world, but the screen was really weird to play a lot of these games on. So like when you're playing Sonic N, which is just a port of Sonic Advance from the Game Boy Advance, the fact that it's kind of a vertical screen doesn't really work. But yeah, that's just a fun console to collect for, mainly because the games are all cheap, and it's a lot of big names, stuff like Tomb Raider. They had a unique Elder Scrolls game on it, it's just some cool stuff. Speaking of cool stuff, here's Sonic Jam on the Gamecom. The Gamecom is one of the worst game consoles of all time, and I own Sonic Jam for it's sealed. Yeah, that one's also a fun one to get for. That one also has a lot of weirdly big names for it. You have Duke Nukem on it, you have Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil 2, Sonic, but it's just these bastardized versions of those games. It's so funny. I love the Gamecom because I hate it so much. But below that, we have Pokemon Mini, which I have like a strange amount of. I have two sealed, I guess, maybe not sealed, but like complete in box versions of the console, which this is the Japanese version and this was a North American version. Yeah, it's just a very bizarre release for Nintendo. This was kind of during like the big Pokemon craze. It was kind of like to mix Pokemon with a Tamagotchi, but not really. It was more so like, here's a dedicated Pokemon handheld to play Pokemon Party and mini games on, which just kind of felt like it was like, I don't know, it just felt really pointless. But it's like a fun kind of pointless, so it's weird. But yeah, I also have like a version of the system that's just, like loose like this. And I have a couple of the games loose. One of these games is actually like really like up there in terms of price. I believe this one, Togepi's Big Adventure or something like that. Whatever, it's so small. You could choke on this thing and it's probably worth like $200. And that really makes me think sometimes. But I have a lot of the games here just in the boxes. Some of them are the Japanese versions, and then some of them are the North American versions, which are definitely a lot more hard to find because like this console, as limited in popularity as it was definitely a little more popular in Japan and definitely a little more advertised in Japan than it was here. But yeah, we got Pokemon Pinball Mini, Pokemon Puzzle Collection. There's like Pokemon Tetris on here. There it is. But yeah, this is a very neat little obscure piece of Nintendo and Pokemon history there. But speaking of obscure Nintendo stuff, I got this because this is just a weird thing. This is like a weird like Nintendo thing for a Japanese system called the Barcode Battler 2. I don't know much about this. We also have all my amiibo cards. So I have a lot of the Animal Crossing cards here. Me and my girlfriend Kate kind of got into just buying like some of the booster packs, I guess is what you call them. Pretty much like just like a bunch of the cards in like the boxes that you'd get at the store. It would cost like $100 or something. But then you get a bunch of cards and you can open them up and you can see like which ones that you get. It was exciting. But yeah. We got all 5 of the collector's albums here, so it's kind of fun to go through and try to get a lot of the ones, or at least the ones that you want. This binder here, I have all my e-reader cards in, which I have like some of the very obscure, hard to find ones. So we have like some of the Pikmin 2 ones that were only in Japan. And I believe like one of the really hard ones to get was like the card for Animal Crossing. Oh, wait. This one is up there. This is the Eon ticket for, I believe, like Pokemon, which Pokemon game? Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. So that one's a bit up there. And then another one that I have is the Ice Climber card for Animal Crossing. I think that one is pretty hard to get. And I have another one in Mario Brothers. That one was also a little hard to get. But yeah, I have a fair amount of e-reader cards, and e-reader is cool, but like it's so just damn clunky to use. It's kind of like these are fun to collect for the sake of collecting, but they're so stupid to use that it's just like it's not that like exciting to use them. But you know, it's just fun to collect cards in general, so it's like whatever, get off my back. And then throughout here is a bunch of like old media I have, or just media in general. I have like a bunch of DVDs. Like I don't really collect DVDs. I mainly just bought a lot of these. Some of these are from my childhood, but also I went out of my way to get like a lot of the video game movies on DVD and Blu-ray and whatnot. So that's mainly what we got here. Nothing insane, but I tried to get like all the major video game movies on home media of some kind. But I went down a really deep hole and I got really into getting HD DVDs. And not just any HD DVDs, like these are all fucking sealed. Like I haven't opened any of them, and like whenever I'd get them, they were all brand new. But like nobody cares because they were dirt cheap. I just think it's kind of fun to get HD DVDs. Especially like, I don't know, like these little variety packs. If you want Goodfellas and Superman the movie together at last, there you go. But yeah, so we go DVD and Blu-ray, and then HD DVD. And I have one laser disc, actually 2. Oh, I got 2, all right? We got Back to the Future Part 2, and then The Incredible Mr. Limpet. But then lower here we have VHS tapes, and I like getting a couple VHS tapes. They're fun. They're fun to kind of go back to and watch. So I got like kind of the cardboard ones here, Quigley, and then kind of like the big box stuff, like stuff that would be like, I don't know, like the Disney stuff, in boxes like this, which these are kind of gross. I bought a bunch of these VHS tapes like brand new because they're not expensive. It's like $5 to $10 to buy these VHS tapes brand new. So I kind of just get like them in lots, just so then it's just like, boom, I can watch like some old movies on this TV if I want to. And they're not expensive. And I would recommend buying these ones in particular new, because like these like get like crust all over them, man. It's disgusting to buy these used. Don't buy these used. It's gross. I also have, my Video Now player right here, and a sealed one as well. Again, these are not expensive at all. They're just kind of cool because, I had this as a kid. So this is kind of like my obsolete media shelf right here. Just some cool stuff to just kind of like fiddle around with when you're bored. That brings us over here to the Xbox 360 shelf. It's pretty crazy to me how much I own for the Xbox 360. But yeah, this was another console I grew up with. I have a couple of the boxes up here, and you know, I definitely am pretty nostalgic over like this era right here. This is kind of from that 2010 to like 2011. This was the box to the system I got, just the basic 4GB with Kinect. But this one over here is pretty cool. You know, it includes Halo Reach and Fable 3. It's interesting that Halo Reach is actually like a download. Which is pretty like, you know, that seems like such a modern thing that we associate with like, you know, more modern game systems. But, you know, they were doing it back in like, you know, 2011 on the 360. But, you know, that one was cool because it was a 250GB model. But it was weird because like those models of the 360 were like all shiny and like had that glossy, gross finish. Whereas the cheaper one had like a matte finish, which is like way better. Over here, I have the Peggle 2 Xbox 360. That's right. That one is the Xbox 360e, so the redesigned one that looks kind of similar to like the original Xbox One. Yeah, I just think it's kind of a silly one to own there, so I like that. And then first one up there I got is the original model of the Xbox 360. So we got every era covered here. The 360 is such a fun system to look back on. I mean, just thinking back to like that 2008 era, even when I didn't own one, you know, just going to like other people's houses who owned one, just seemed like the center of like their entertainment center, you know, just like and like you just had like so many cool games on there. Back when I only had like a GameCube and stuff, seeing all these like HD, super premium feeling games on that console, it was like, I don't know, it was really cool. And all the like the downloadable games you could get, all the Xbox Live Arcade stuff, it was a really cool system. But unfortunately, I got into it a little later, but I definitely got a lot out of it. You know, I remember it being kind of, yeah, my entertainment center for a bit there. You know, you could do anything on that system. It really felt like at the time, something like an Xbox 360 or PS3, like that was all you really needed for like everything. But when it comes to games, the 360 just has this stacked lineup. It is so stinking crazy, all the stuff on this console. And like it just has stuff from all different eras. Like I have like games that were multi-plats on like the PS2 and GameCube and original Xbox here, and then it goes all the way down to like games that were multi-platform games on like the PS4 and Xbox One. It's like really weird to see stuff like, well, we have Wolfenstein: The New Colossus on Xbox 360. Look how many freaking discs this thing has, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, that's just really interesting, and it does show, even though this console and, you know, the PS3 alongside it were incredibly dated by the time games like this were coming out, they still did the job. You could get games to run on these things. And I think it's also indicative when you see like PS5 games running on like the Nintendo Switch, which is, you know, comparable in terms of graphical fidelity to an Xbox 360 and PS3 in many ways. So it's kind of like, if they still wanted to keep these consoles alive, I think they kind of could. Of course, like the stuff running the Switch is still like more modern technology compared to like, you know, the stuff from the 360. But, you know, still, like I think if you really wanted to, you could get a lot of games still running on the 360, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, just a lot of memories on the 360. I loved BioShock Infinite on here. This was like the game I played for like a month straight back in like 2013 on my 360. I remember seeing one of my friends at their house playing Forza 4 with the Kinect. That was embarrassing. And here's another example of two games on the same console that have the exact same name. We have Need for Speed Most Wanted and Need for Speed Most Wanted. For some reason, something that I have like a lot of nostalgia for, and it's because like over time, like movie licensed games during this generation kind of started to fade away, you know? So during like that 2005 to like 2007, 2008 era, seeing stuff like, I don't know, the Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End Game, Peter Jackson's King Kong, there's fucking, oh man.
Ratatouille, I see it.
Oh yeah, there's Rat-Tat-Tooie on the 360. That was a big one. Oh, Spider-Man 3, that's a good one. And of course, you know, you have like Toy Story 3, Tron Evolution. There's just something about like movie licensed games on the 360. And it might be just because like this was when I was a kid, like 2010, I was like 13. So it's just like, you know, a lot of these movies, you know, I'm nostalgic for when they were coming out and seeing commercials for them or going to the theaters and seeing them. And of course, like I'm nostalgic for like the 360 era. So like it all just kind of comes together when I see, you know, movie licensed games, in this era. And especially because like they were a little fewer and far between compared to like the GameCube era or the PS1 era, or even the SNES era or whatever. I don't know. I just find them kind of neat. I just find them kind of cool, and I like them. And there's just also like some weird stuff on 360 that like I don't know. It's just you don't really hear about. The fact that like Rayman Raving Rabbids got a port to the 360. That's a little weird because like that's a motion control mini game collection that's like on the Wii. It's also on the PS2. That's another game I have on the PS2 that like when it comes down to it, it's going. GoldenEye 007 Reloaded, which is one of the first games I got on the 360 because I love the Wii games so much. But this one isn't as good to me personally just because I think part of the charm of GoldenEye 007 on Wii was the fact that it was like made for Wii and it was such a good Wii game. You put it in HD and it kind of loses a lot of that appeal because this is on the same console as like Call of Duty. And I know the Wii had Call of Duty, but it's also like it's a compromised version of Call of Duty and it doesn't run as well. GoldenEye on the Wii was made specifically for the Wii, so you put this on the 360 when you could just play like the best version of Call of Duty at the time. And I'm like, whatever, you know, it's not as good, it's not as cool. The Grand Theft Auto games, so they got some weird ones here. 5, it's kind of weird to think about that like people forget that this was a 360 and PS3 game. This is how I initially first played it. But then you also have Grand Theft Auto 4. I played this a ton. I downloaded it digitally originally because I didn't want to go through the whole rigmarole of convincing my mom to buy it for me. I don't even know if she had a strict policy against mature rated games with me. I just kind of felt like this was automatically like, oh, I better not ask for that. I'm only 14. But I downloaded the digital version and I played the hell out of it. I barely got far in the story. I mainly just liked dicking around. And then we have Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. This is weird on the 360. This is basically like a weird 360 port of the mobile version of San Andreas. And then they put it on a disc. And it's like a platinum hits game, and they don't. It's just San Andreas. They don't say anything like San Andreas HD or anything. Nah, it's just the same box art as the PS2 game. Okay. I recently got Sonic Unleashed on the 360, which I've always wanted this version because this is kind of like this is the version of the game, you know, the HD version. I only had the Wii one as a kid. But this one is so hard to find. This is sealed, and I'm gonna open it because I recently found it, so I haven't opened it yet. But it's like impossible to find a version of Sonic Unleashed that's not like the Platinum Hits garbage version. I don't know why, but it's impossible to find it. You Don't Know Jack is a fun trivia game, and it eventually evolved into like the Jackbox games that like everybody plays these days. Yeah, this was originally like a PS1 PC game series from like the 90s, and then it went away for a while, and then this reboot came back, and this kind of kickstarted the whole Jackbox thing, which is pretty interesting. And I played that back in the day when it was new, so I kind of feel like I was a bit of ahead of the curve with that. Pretty fun. I was not ahead of the curve with this. Nobody fucking played this game. I'm like the only person that did. It's You Start 2. It's a movie karaoke. You're in the movie scenes. It's not really good, but if you get drunk enough, it is. This is another like fun little movie license game. This is really strange because this movie is like a PG-13 movie, but they made the game a super bloody, gory, M-rated game, which is pretty rad or crazy or something. I didn't even know what word I was going to use there, but there you go. I mentioned that game, And now let's get the hell away from the 360 and let's go over to the PlayStation section because I've been talking long enough. The PS3 is an incredible console. It's pretty much like everything about the 360, but with even better and more exclusives. At the beginning of the 360 era, they had a lot of exclusives, but a lot of them they also kind of just bought out. Mass Effect 1 was an Xbox 360 exclusive. BioShock was an Xbox 360 exclusive. But it's like, they eventually went to the PS3. It's not like, oh man, these are Xbox games, bitch. But the PS3 had so many big games. I mean, you had the whole Uncharted trilogy, The Last of Us, so many Ratchet and Clank games, the Resistance games, the Killzone games, Metal Gear Solid 4 as an exclusive. It's non-stop stuff. And then on top of that, you have most of the big games that were on the 360. In many cases, they may not have been the best version on PS3 because the PS3 was really hard to develop for. But overall, I mean, you're still getting some of the best games from this generation on this console. It's a shame the PS3 is annoying as to use. Whenever I use the PS3, it's there's something I gotta do. There's something that's going wrong where it's there's an update I gotta do, and an update on the PS3 just halts everything and it takes forever. On the 360, that thing is you hop back in and it's nothing ever changed. Turn that 360 on and it's welcome back home. PS3, it wants to scold you for not using it this week. I don't have the craziest PS3 collection, mainly because most of the multi-plats from this generation I'd rather get on 360 just because it is easier to use, and also there is a chance that I can plug the disc into my Xbox Series X if it's backwards compatible. But yeah, I have most of the things that I really want for the PS3. I have some funny ones. All right. Bear with me on this. That was a pun, and I didn't even mean for it to be a pun. He's a fucking bear. All right, so Kung Fu Panda 2, this one's weird because on the Wii, it's a U-Draw game. On the 360, it's a Kinect game. And on the PS3, it's just a game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If you want the version of Kung Fu Panda 2 that is just a video game and no motion control drawing bullshit, it's only on PS3. That's all I have to say. I've never played it. But yeah, the PS3 is really damn rad. I think the PS3 is really fun to get into these days, and yeah, I think it is better than the 360 overall. But it has its little quirks, much like the PSP, which I really like. I think the PSP is fun. I always wanted a PSP back in the day. I really wanted a DS, but I thought the PSP was this magical thing that oh my god, it's a game console on the go. That was so impressive at the time. It was it was what my dreams were made of. Just the thought of oh my god, I can play PS2 quality games. I mean, I'm looking right now. You have Lego Star Wars 2, which was a PS2 game, on the go. You have the Burnout games. You have Gran Turismo, Grand Theft Auto, God of War. And then random stuff like Dante's Inferno has a PSP version. And then you have Tekken 6 on the PSP, and Thrillville, and Tony Hawk's Underground 2. It's just the PSP has so much cool stuff on it. I definitely understand why the DS won, and I think the DS is a better system, mainly because yeah, as cool as it is that a lot of these games are on PSP, I mean, after you play it for a little bit, that coolness kind of wears off, and you kind of just think damn, this would be a little better on just a home console. It's really strange because sometimes on the PSP, you'll get a port of the PS2 game or the PS3 game or whatever. And then other times, they'll straight up give you a weird PSP version of a DS game or something. So it's just you get random handheld games on the PSP, you get random console games on the PSP. You never know what you're gonna get on this thing. And that's what's fun about it. I think this is such a cool system. Also, I own multiple movies on the thing. Zathura, anyone? I think it's a neat little handheld. And then we have the PS Vita. So similarly, I like the PS Vita quite a bit. I think the PS Vita is very cool. And I know I've been saying that a lot, like, oh, this is cool. PSP is really cool. But it is true. They are very cool little handhelds. The PS Vita never stood a chance though, and especially compared to the PSP had so much more stuff going on. The PS Vita was a really great indie machine and like legacy content machine, like a way to play PS1 games and digital PSP games, and it had some really great RPGs on it, Japanese games, and for a bit there, it had some cool AAA support. But that was only for like the first year. After that, Sony gave up on it. And a lot of what I tried to collect on it were kind of like those big AAA games that they tried to really make work on the PS Vita. I haven't gotten into the more niche games or the more like cult classics or like the JRPGs, a lot of like the more like limited run stuff. I haven't really gotten into that. Rather, I kind of got into the stuff like Uncharted Golden Abyss and Killzone Mercenary and Gravity Rush and Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified and Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Just all these games that they tried to make like, oh my god, this is like the console game on the go. Never really worked. But it is just really interesting. This is kind of like the last bastion of like, hey, let's make a unique game for this handheld. Because then eventually we got the Nintendo Switch, and that way like, oh yeah, we can just, put this game everywhere instead of make a unique game specifically for, this handheld. Let's make a handheld version of this game. Now it's like, hey, it's just a home console game everywhere. But it's just interesting to see like, Mod Nation Racers on the PS Vita, but it's Mod Nation Racers Road Trip. And then we also have Resistance Burning Skies. It's not really good, but it's like, I don't know. It's like a unique portable-only Resistance game. Same with Killzone Mercenary, which I remember a lot of people going like, man, this is like a graphical showcase. This is like one of the best Vita games when it released in 2013. Nobody actually played. Everybody played the first level and was like, wow, how cool. Nobody played through that game. I played through that game. I can't remember a single damn thing about it. Yeah, it's a competent first-person shooter on the Vita. That's all it is. That's the same you can say about Uncharted Golden Abyss. I love the Uncharted games. And playing through Golden Abyss, it was fine, but it was kind of just a paint-by-numbers Uncharted game. And I think that's kind of what the main problem was. Like, a lot of the games are fine. It's more so, it's like the PSP thing. It's like, it's more so just cool. It's like, damn, this is Uncharted on the go. That's cool, but like, why even play it? So like, yeah, I really love the PS Vita, but more so as like a novelty. But yeah, just in terms of some highlights, I have some European-only games because there are some games that only released in Europe that are just kind of interesting. The Ratchet & Clank Trilogy, the physical version, released in Europe. I don't believe it actually launched physically here in North America, so I wanted to get that. And then there was PlayStation Vita Pets, which was a weird thing they tried to do, trying to get like a more casual pet simulator on the Vita. I don't know if there was anybody that was buying a Vita for stuff like this, but for some reason they did try in Europe to kind of push more of a casual, kid-friendly thing here, where Sony published The Muppets Movie Adventures and Looney Tunes Galactic Sports and probably something else, but we're gonna stop there for now. Outside of that, I mean, there's some other things. I don't really care if a game is expensive or not. I just kind of find it interesting. Disney Infinity 2.0 was on the Vita, and this was the only Disney Infinity game on the Vita. They had like a very specialized like bundle where it came with a unique figure and all that, and a unique portal and everything. So that's just kind of strange. That's an interesting little thing that happened. All the collections, this is kind of cool. I felt like they pushed these out when they weren't really sure what to do with the Vita. So what better thing to do than just kind of put out like collections of PS2 games kind of in pseudo HD. So these are kind of like Vita versions of the PS3 collections. And I remember they put out the God of War collection kind of when they did the whatever, the redesign of the PS Vita, like the PS Vita Slim. So that was kind of trying to be like, hey, let's try to bring new life to the Vita. It didn't work. But they also did that alongside Borderlands 2. This is a funny version of the game. I mean, it works. But why? We also have Gravity Rush. I love Gravity Rush. I love this game so much. It's so cool. I mainly played it on the PS4, but I went through a lot of my Vita games to get footage of them on my modded Vita on the PC, and I went through Gravity Rush and I kept playing it. And I pretty much went through half the game. I love this silly little game. It's so cool. It has such a cool style and it's so fun to play. Yeah, there's just so much stuff on the Vita that's really, really cool. It is such an interesting little novelty, but that's all it really is to me at this point. It is more of a novelty than anything. Speaking of novelties, here we have the first video game console of all time. I didn't know where else to put it here, but I felt weird about putting this in like the closet, and I had the damn APF TV Fun out in the open. So I just put the Odyssey here mainly because this box is really big, and what I find just like it's just so damn cool is the fact that like I think this is like the shipping box it was in, like what it shipped to in stores, and it's just the basic like blank box, and then on the inside is like the more like elaborate box for the Magnavox Odyssey, and it's in great shape. This thing is in immaculate condition, so I'm very much like, yeah, you gotta have this out. It's the first video game console of all time. We're transitioning over from this portion of the game room to like the actual like couch setup and everything. And yeah, most of the time, since I film here as well, there's always some kind of like tripods and lights and all that junk just littered around. So let's get this out of the way and let's talk about this big ass pile of Nintendo Switch games. Since the Switch games are a little smaller and a little thinner, it's kind of easy to forget how many I probably have, which is probably like 200 or something at this point. It's pretty insane, and this isn't even all of them. In some cases, like, I'm lending games out to people, so it's probably like 6 or something games missing from this lineup. But yeah, this is my Switch lineup. Nothing crazy. I mainly just go for like a lot of the big heavy hitter titles or the games I'm just interested in. Nothing too wild. Some things that I have that are like a little more like up there would be like Ultra Street Fighter 2, which there's no point to owning this game at all anymore. You have like the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection on Switch, which pretty much just negates any purpose the Ultra Street Fighter 2 had. That game launched in like May of 2017, like a few months after the Switch launched, and it was just like an excuse to put out like a big name franchise on the Switch, but in like one of the laziest ways possible. I got Fitness Boxing. It's a little hard to find, that's a little interesting. And then I also have the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection, but it's not like the super rare one. The super rare one, the super expensive one, is like the North American ESRB copy. But this one has like all the fixins of like a North American Switch game. The main thing that kind of bugs me is when I get like a European game here. And, you have the PEGI symbol there, and on the side, all the European games have a different, like, way they usually, like, the spine is usually formatted. So, that bugs me. I don't like that. And I only have this because Amazon.com doesn't care. They'll keep sending you the PEGI versions of games, even though the preview image shows the North American version, and it doesn't matter because everything is region free, so who gives a shit? I do. Okay, so the Final Fantasy collection, this is like the, I believe like just like the international like version released in like Asian markets, maybe? I don't know, I'm kind of spitballing here, but it's an English copy. It doesn't have the ESRB logo, but it's pretty much a North American copy of the game. So I don't care. It's comparing like having this and no ESRB logo on your game to owning a version with the ESRB logo and it costs like $600 on eBay. I'm good. Skylanders Imaginators on Switch. Okay, actually, this is a big title. That was expensive. It was like a Switch launch title, and this is like the last Skylanders game that they really released for a bit there. So it's just like, yeah, go me, I own it. As we move over here, this is the opposite side of kind of the obsolete media wall and obscure handhelds collections and PC games that I have. On the opposite side of that, I kind of wanted to turn these shelves into kind of fake walls to kind of separate things a little more and to take advantage of the space more than I was doing. It kind of makes things a little more like, you know, it kind of makes this whole basement feel like 3 separate rooms rather than just like one big giant space that like feels a little more empty. Like this kind of makes things feel a little more like there's stuff going on at every corner. So you might be able to see this is kind of what I'm talking about when I say like, yeah, a lot of times it feels like it's in disarray because a lot of times like there is wires and stuff kind of dangling around, but that's because, you know, it's connected to cameras and, you know, lights and all of that. And even then, like I'm using these dumb, like really cheap Amazon Basics mic stands and they're always falling over and I gotta upgrade these. But yeah, you know, it does make it a little lame to just kind of sit down and just play a game or just enjoy it, having all this stuff here. But at the same time, you know, like I like having it all out and I like being able to use it at a moment's notice. But yeah, sometimes like it can be a little cramped. So I kind of want to do a little more organization of the space, kind of like rearrange some things here and there. But here we have a very cheap Walmart bike that I will use sometimes to just get like some exercise in. It's really hard to feel like moving your feet sometimes, especially when you sit on your ass all day in front of a computer editing video. So sometimes like I'll try to force myself like, okay, like especially when I'm capturing game footage, it's kind of like a good excuse to like, all right, sit on the bike and just get your blood pumping for 30 minutes. Right here we have a cat tower for creatures, and it's right next to probably my biggest collection, which is the Wii games, next to the Wii U. The Wii U games are in a bit of disarray right now, but I believe this is a complete North American library. And up here we have all different kinds of console boxes. These are the fun ones. So we have the Xbox One S All Digital Edition. I just love that thing. It's so bad. It's so stupid. I love it. And then we have the Hannah Montana PSP. I love that thing as well. And we have the PSP Go and the PSP Street. So I have a bunch of my PSP boxes up there. And then we also have some cool special edition Switch boxes, the Red Mario edition and the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu edition. I also have the rest of my special edition Switches on top of the Switch shelf. So you have the original Switch model that released, the Fortnite Switch. You gotta have the Fortnite Switch and the Smash Brothers Ultimate Switch. I've always found that the special edition Switches are always a little bland, a little boring. But I like the boxes, and a lot of these games, like I just think are cool to own, like the special edition systems of. I'm not really looking to get any more. These are just the ones that I have. You know, if I had to pick one, you know, I'd probably do the Smash Ultimate one because I love Smash Ultimate. And at least like the dock has something cool, the Joy-Cons have something cool, but at the same time, they're pretty basic, they're pretty bland. It's just pretty much a gray Switch with just like a Sharpie line written on the Joy-Con, like, whatever. But yeah, here we have the whole Wii lineup here. And originally I didn't have this many games. Well, I did, but I kind of like had a lot of the shovelware stuff that I've bought in throughout the years, just kind of in boxes. A lot of stuff like, I don't know, The Island of Dr. Frankenstein. Back in the day, you know, I'd buy this for like a shovelware variety episode of Scott the Woz, and then when I'd be done with it, I'd save the game, but I kept them in boxes. I put them in storage, and I'm just like, I don't want these filling up my shelves. But eventually, it just got to the point where I'm kind of like, okay, like what's considered shovelware, what's not? Because like I had stuff like Ninja Breadman like on my actual Wii shelf, and eventually got to the point that like I was kind of forgetting what games I actually owned. A lot of these shovelware games, like I might have accidentally bought like a duplicate copy of because I forgot I owned it. So eventually I just said, you know what, this represents the Wii library pretty well. I love the Wii library for how many great games are on it, but also how much dog shit is on it. So yeah, I just compiled everything I own that was Wii. So yeah, a good like 40% of this, 50% of this is kind of shovelware garbage. But you know, I mean, that represents the library pretty well. So yeah, this is like the only game library that I currently have that goes over to another shelf. Up here we have the import games that I have, which are definitely some of the more interesting Wii games. For the most part, I think I have most of the general Wii games that I'd really want. But the imports are where it gets kind of fun. So I have Disaster Day of Crisis. This was developed by Monolith Soft, who is known for like Xenoblade Chronicles and whatnot. They did like this game that only released in Europe and Japan, and it feels like it's made specifically for North America, and they said, no, don't release it in North America. So, okay. I didn't care. I went beyond the rules, and I'm playing this in Ohio currently. I am pretty fucking cool. Here we have Retro City Rampage DX. This was released in like 2020. This company V-Blank, you know, they did Retro City Rampage and also Shakedown Hawaii. And I think they've done this a couple times. They think it's pretty cool, and I think it's pretty cool to kind of just take advantage of the fact that like, hey, if a game console is kind of starting to wrap up, they kind of want to be there at the last moment to be like, no, we're gonna put out our games on this console physically and make it one of the last times you can do it. So they put out one of the last Wii U games, being like Shakedown Hawaii. They put out one of the last Wii games, being Retro City Rampage DX physically. And I believe they did the same for like PS3, so they put out their games on PS3 physically. One of the last PS3 games might even be the last PS3 game released physically, so that's pretty cool. And when that was going on, like these games were like 20, 30 bucks on their website. So, you know, I went in, I got the Wii version of that, the Wii U versions, all of that, so got that locked and loaded. Here we have Wii Dare and Wii Chess, you know, the angel and the devil. These are just interesting little bastards, you know. Wii Dare is not very good. The whole thing with it is that, like, you know, you look at the box art and it's like, this is fucked up. Like, it's acting like it's some kind of sexy singles game or something, and it's not. It's just, it's a dance. Half the games are Just Dance. Half the games are trivia games or whatever, and there's one game you can maybe interpret as a spanking game. Who cares? If anything, Wii Chess is more offensive to me. There's no pointer controls in this game. That's dumb as hell. But then we go over to the Japanese Wii games that I have. You know, I have like Wii Sports. Mainly, like there was a game store that I went to that's kind of nearby that specialized in like import games, like Japanese import games. And they just had a copy of Wii Sports here. And I'm just like, that's kind of fun. I'll pick that up. But there's also Just Dance Wii, which is a Japanese exclusive Just Dance game. And then there's Dragon Quest. You know, of course you have to have that. And Captain Rainbow, which is a Japanese exclusive Wii game that is very cool, made by the developers of Chibi Robo. And then we have the new Play Control games on Wii. But the Japanese versions, which I think is pretty sweet, mainly because we never got like two separate releases for Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 here in North America, so that's one way to go about it. And we also have Chibi Robo, which never got a release outside of Japan on the Wii. So lots of cool stuff. I'm very selective with my imports sometimes, and other times I'm just like, hey, sure, that sounds funny. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of my Wii games are kind of like the basic stuff that, like, you know, it's kind of like my GameCube collection, you know? It's kind of like, all right, you know, you have the Marios, you have the Zeldas, You know, I could probably like find something that's kind of cool here, but at the same time, it's kind of, okay, this one's interesting. This is Cruisin', and like you have Cruisin' USA on the Nintendo 64, like that's, you know, this franchise has a legacy. I think this was like a damn Fast and Furious game that they reskinned and turned into Cruisin' on the Wii. I don't know, that's kind of, that's a little weird. I have Grey's Anatomy, the video game. I got the Monkey King.
So many.
But yeah, you know, I always have fun with the Wii. There's a lot of stuff. Like it's always like a console that I will always go back to for, you know, your go-to multiplayer experiences. I love playing Mario Kart Wii. I love playing Mario Party 8, specifically Koopa's Tycoon Town and nothing else. But yeah, Mario Galaxy is like definitely my favorite game of all time. And the copy I have here is the same copy that I bought as a kid. So, you know, that's something. There's something to say about that. I don't know what, but there you go. You know what's pretty interesting is how I bought this copy of New Super Mario Bros. Wii on Amazon in 2014 or something like that. And they shipped it in a white case. And everybody's like, what the hell? Why isn't it in a red case? But they stopped giving a damn later down the line. They kept on just putting New Super Mario Bros. Wii in a white case, and it looks a little strange, don't it? But then we move over to the Wii U, and there's nothing to say here, because when you own every game on the console, what are the highlights? Who gives a shit? It's not like, oh, do you own this game? Yes, I own it. I own that game. And it's in a bit of disarray because, you know, like I do stuff with the Wii U all the time, so things are a little spicy right now. But yeah, pretty much like any game that's like hard to find or rare, I have it. Yay. Some of like the cool imports that I have, you know, we have Project Zero, which is Fatal Frame on Wii U. We got that. Bayonetta 1 and 2. I have the Japanese versions of that, which is kind of cool. Devil's Third, that's kind of the big one on Wii U. Hooray, hurrah. One thing that I always found interesting was that Darksiders 2 was like a launch title on Wii U. And then one of the last games I released on Wii U was the original Darksiders, which is, you know, there's probably some kind of Shakespearean thing to say about that. I own a lot of duplicates of games on Wii U. A lot of things might be like, I might own like a sealed version or the Nintendo Selects version. So as an example, you know, I have Nintendo Selects Nintendo Land and regular Nintendo Land. I own like 3 copies of Mario 3D World, and that's because I have Nintendo Selects, the original version, and then the refurbished copy, which Nintendo had like, you know, refurbished versions of their games and consoles available on their online store for a bit. But they ended up like printing new like art for the games that would have like this printed on them. So yeah, there's like unique variations. And when I say unique variations, it's very much like, who cares? But yeah, if you want every version of a game on Wii U, they do have the refurbished versions. So there's all kinds of, this family tree just keeps on going. But then I also have like, again, like a lot of imports. I find the imports a little more interesting to talk about here because, like I said, if I own pretty much everything here, I don't know what else there is to say. But yeah, there's stuff like there's the Shmup Collection and Finding Teddy 2. These are both like very late releases, exclusively in Europe, indie games. So you know, those might be a little harder to find later down the line. Art Academy Altair. This is like, you know, the physical release of Art Academy on Wii U, and we never got the physical release over here. I believe it was just called Art Academy Home Studio over here. This one's a weird one because we never got Skylanders 1 on Wii U over here, but in Japan they got it, and it was published by Square Enix. And then stuff like Puyo Puyo Tetris, that was originally on Wii U in Japan. And Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars, that got a physical release on the Wii U in Japan. So yeah. I talk about the Wii U enough, let's get the hell out of here. Okay, so this is a bit of like a lame part of the game room, where it's like, it's still a little unfinished, and I do want to upgrade it a little better. But yeah, this is the TV setup, and this is the console setup, and all that junk. I do have 2 bookcases here. This is just like a Google Home like screen unit or something. Pretty much just to have like a clock. I don't use it for like anything else. But you know, that's there. And then we also have just some, I kind of put like a lot of more of the obscure Japanese Nintendo things. Well, this is technically Chinese Nintendo things. This is the IQ player, which is pretty much like a repackaged N64 for China. But yeah, that's like a complete in box unit. That's cool to own. And then we have the Panasonic Q complete in box, the Japanese Panasonic collaboration with the GameCube. That's DVD player combo with the GameCube. That's like a beautiful unit. That's just like this chrome, like beautiful thing. It's like a GameCube for a king. It's like wild to own something like that. And then here's the 64DD. I've never felt like more of a twerp holding anything in my life. And then on this side over here, this is just kind of more like obscure random things that I do like a lot. These are my 2 PlayStation Vita boxes. I love this thing. This is the first edition PS Vita bundle. I always wanted this back in the day, mainly because it came with a really nice case and little deviants and a memory card. It was the 3G model and everything. And I was able to pick this up on eBay, so I'm very, very thankful for that. And then the Borderlands 2 bundle for the Vita Slim. And then we have my Gamecom box and the HD DVD player for the Xbox 360. I believe this is still sealed, so this is a sealed copy. And there's nothing else down here. I'm still trying to figure this out, and definitely, you know, I'm kind of gonna adjust the shelves a little bit to, you know, make this a little more of a display. But yeah, you know, still working on that. But overall, when we go over to the game setup here, you know, it is definitely a little more function over like total, like, oh man, this looks so cool. So the TV I have here is a TCL, I believe it's a QLED TV. It's a Roku TV, which I will maintain are the best smart TVs. All of the smart TVs that are like, oh man, this is like so much better. No, it's not. They all suck. The Roku TVs are simple, they get the job done. I don't really have problems with like apps crashing and just random junk happening and like updates and all this junk. I don't have to deal with anything like that. I have like an LG smart TV upstairs and the picture quality is gorgeous. The user interface is the worst goddamn thing I've ever used in my life. The Roku TV is great. The picture quality on this TV is fine. It does the job. You know, the TV I have upstairs is an OLED. And that's like, oh man, that's beautiful. I think it looks gorgeous. And like this in comparison, I can definitely tell the difference. I don't care. It's a very large TV and it more than does the job. It's a great TV for what I need to do here. And like when I moved into this place, this was the first time that I've actually like, you know, bolted TVs to the wall. Correction, I paid people to do that because I don't trust myself, and it wasn't that expensive for them to just do it themselves. But I had holes drilled in the wall to kind of make way for you know, HDMI cables to go through, so then I can plug in multiple switchers here. But pretty much, this is just kind of meant to be a capture station right now, where I can kind of sit on the couch and relax and sit back and play my video games while also capturing the footage. Because, you know, I love playing video games, but I also need to capture the footage. So right here I have my 15-inch MacBook Pro. This is a bit of an older one. It still has the touch bar that the bad MacBook Pros have. It's a bit of a spec'd out model with a larger SSD in there. So I can capture a lot of stuff on there. And when I want to, I'll plug an external SSD in there, transfer all the stuff onto it, and then dump it on my large gameplay hard drive. And I really like capturing on a laptop because then you can see the screen as you're on the couch, kicking back. You don't have to worry about much. You can see like, okay, it's still capturing. That's awesome. I like it. And you can also bring your laptop anywhere. blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's nice. It's nice to be able to do it this way. And what I use here is an Elgato HD60S Plus. I have all my game consoles kind of labeled here with a label maker. Now, you know, you should be able to just, you know, take the output from this HDMI switcher, plug it into the Elgato, and then whatever you're playing at that moment, you can just switch to, and then, you know, it should show up on the TV. I found that, you know, relying on the switcher to output the correct thing to the Elgato has just been messy for me in the past. I think sometimes it can kind of confuse the Elgato and doesn't really know what to do. And I don't even know if I'm explaining it correctly. So I just end up like unplugging whatever I need to capture here. So this is Nintendo Switch. I just unplug it real quick and I just plug it into the Elgato. Bada bing, bada boom. I know that's kind of like a messier way to do it, but I've had so many problems with, like, you know, plugging the output of the HDMI switcher into the Elgato, and it just doesn't read it correctly, or there's like a weird glitch or something. So I'm just like, screw it, whatever, I'll just do it manually. But I have two switchers here to just kind of keep things organized. So then I have, you know, I know which HDMI cable is to which system, and I can easily like figure out like where everything is, because like, what, this is probably like, there's probably like 16 or something systems here. But yeah, these are like the systems that I'd use the most to capture footage from. Anything else is kind of like, whatever. If I need footage from it, I'll take it out of the closet and I'll plug it in. But right now, and even then, a lot of these systems I don't use a ton. But you know, these are kind of the main big boy ones. So, you know, we have Switch, obviously, Wii U for Wii U and Wii games, GameCube, Xbox 360, N64, original Xbox, Super Retro Trio 3 Plus, which is Sega Genesis, NES, and SNES. It's not ideal. It does a good job of playing the games. My main problem with it is that it automatically stretches the image. It's not automatically in 4:3, but the games do look crisp enough. But, you know, at that point, sometimes I'm kind of like, I'll just use an emulator, or there's like a million other ways to play a lot of these games. But if I have the cartridge and it's real quick to just plug it in, get footage real quick instead of going online, finding a ROM and down and making sure the emulator, everything works well, you know, I'll use that. And I'm sure I know for a fact there are better like multi-system solutions out there. But this one's worked fine for me, and it's already plugged in. It's not a huge deal for me to need to get the best way to play Sega Genesis games via the cartridge with an HDMI output right now. Like, I'm very much like, if the footage is good enough, the footage is good enough. Then we have the PS2, PS3, Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, and then up here, the Analog Pocket, PS5, and Xbox Series X. And that pretty much covers like most of the games and systems that I need footage of on a regular basis, and also what I'd want to play on. You know, this pretty much covers basically everything.